Oh yeah, I've got to go through them. I'm such a threat to anybody. But I mean, they know that there's no threat anybody to each other. I mean, it's bogus. And she, of course, she doesn't have to go through them because she doesn't want to go through them. But if I don't go through them, she's going to hit me with a $5,000 fine, and that's the hypocrisy of the left. And yeah, so I go through. You set it off. The Capitol Police know it's a sham. I mean, they wand you. It's crazy, and it's just unfortunate. But I actually, in a hearing yesterday, I said, look, they told us last week in our security briefing, there is no threat from anybody in Congress to somebody else in Congress, particularly on the floor. And John, when you think about this, the only place that we're going through the magnetometers is on the floor.
Yeah.
What? We go through the rest of the halls of the Capitol and the buildings.
And so, like everything else, Congressman, it is about doing something under the appearance of safety. Yeah. It's for show. Like so many other things that Democrats do, it's all about symbolism.
Oh, it is. I mean, and what Nancy Pelosi is trying to do with the razor wire and the fencing and the magnetometers is say we are under siege. And so we've got to have control and power in Washington, D.C. We'll see how important we are and how little everybody else is. And it's really, quite frankly, it's an elitism that's disgusting. And for her to say that there is actual threats, that's just, we call BS on that. That's not true at all. And she knows it's not true.
Every time I see that stuff on TV, and I don't live in Washington, D.C., but it smells. It's a stench of something. I don't believe in smell-o-vision, but you get what the point I'm trying to make here. It reeks of something. Swampiness maybe is the word I'm thinking of. We've all been to a swamp before. We know what it smells like. And when you have to build a wall around where you do work, usually you're not doing a good job. There's some insecurities going on there. Let's also talk, too, about the investigation into what happened on January 6th. President Trump has now confirmed that he asked for 10,000 National Guard troops to come to the Capitol on January 6th. And what happened to that recommendation when it got to Nancy Pelosi's desk?
Well, that's what we really aren't sure of. I know what we've been told, but this kind of more of a rumor mill. I want to get it for sure. We need to find out. But we've known actually for many weeks that the president offered National Guard, and the mayor of D.C. and Nancy Pelosi rejected them. And we had the former chief of police, Capitol Police, saying that he was told this because it was bad optics. But regardless of why, they had the opportunity and they didn't take it. That's what we know. And so Nancy Pelosi again is going to blame somebody else. And we've spent $500 million on this fencing in the National Guard.
Is that right? $500 million. So, think about that. If you parse that up, that could be COVID checks for a lot of Americans out there who are really struggling. Not everybody, but, they promised those checks. They got their wall. They didn't promise those checks. Now, obviously, Speaker Pelosi was calling out one specific member of Congress. I mean, Lauren Boebert's been very open about her desire to carry in the House. I had a chance to meet her in person. She is a tiny little woman, but she says the hypocrites in the Democratic Party are showing the American public who they love, and that's themselves.
So we are exposing the hypocrisy. Their hypocrisy is on full display. They call for unity. All the while last year they were normalizing violence. They were incentivizing violence, encouraging it, fundraising off it, bailing criminals out of jail to get them on the streets quicker, calling to defund our police officers. Through H.R. 127, they want to ban firearms. They want to ban all semi-automatic weapons. And yet they have armed security at our nation's capital. So guns are good if they're protecting them, but not for regular, everyday Americans to protect themselves.
Now, Congresswoman Boebert, she's a freshman, and I assume you are the same way, even though you're chairman of a committee or you're ranking member of a committee. You don't get a full armed security detail to travel with you everywhere you go. She was walking around CPAC with her and a couple staffers at most. And that's why she feels like she needs to carry a gun. She told me that she did not feel safe. The only time she really didn't feel safe at the Capitol was on January 6th.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, and we don't get security detail. And I've been accosted at airports, as have many members of Congress. And we, in Arizona, it's an open carry state. I like to carry. That's the reality of the situation. And they don't want us to carry on the floor. But I can keep a gun in my office, believe it or not. And then they don't like fencing. They say it's a 14th century technology, except for when you want to put it
Right.
around the Capitol and keep, I don't know, you either keeping congressmen and women in or you're keeping the public out. But the point is, it is hypocritical in every sense of the word.
I had a great police source down where I used to work down in Boca Raton, Florida. He told me with all those gated communities, it wasn't to keep us out, it was to keep those folks in there. And he was joking, of course. But Congressman, last question for you. What up with the Senate run? Are you going to do it?
I'm kicking the tires. Who knows? I mean, you got to do your homework. Talk to a lot of people. I think that Arizona is more center right than our current U.S. Senator Mark Kelly. He seems like a nice guy, but I mean, he wants to take away guns. Speaking of guns in the Second Amendment, he wants to take away guns. He's supported Bernie Sanders, so you know that he doesn't support a lot of lower taxes and less regulation. He's more for redistribution in the economy, those types of things. I think Arizona is different than that. I think it's a center-right state.